Private testing can also...
And again, I have the transcript of what he said. He declared state of disaster over coronavirus, says drive-through testing to start in San Antonio. I believe this virus is already all over the place. I think it's going to create a giant panic.
I fully applaud President Trump for cutting off travel from Europe. I think he should have done it sooner, but at least he did. And I support him. Those European leaders are absolute idiots. They have this ideological commitment to the EU and their little bitty Schengen agreement. So they kept open borders out over there and allowed this to travel all over Europe. Indeed, now Tedros of the WHO has said that now Europe, instead of China, is the epicenter of the coronavirus.
And Dr. Francis Boyle, professor, author of the U.S. Biological Weapons Law that became the UN law, who's been absolutely on target. It's actually frightening how on target he's been. I don't get suspicious he might be behind the attack. It just kind of gets like, how does this guy... Well, he's an expert of experts. He was gracious enough to join us on a short notice. We'll go back to your calls next hour. But Governor Abbott, and we had Gary Haven, who met with the governor an hour before, billionaire Gary Haven, philanthropist, patriot. He met with him, and he said on air, the governor's going to declare an emergency next week. Well, it happened earlier than that. Trump's about to declare an emergency. The Democrats said you didn't do enough. Now they're saying, oh, don't block flights from Europe. They are openly trying to use this as a political weapon. It should extinct their party forever. We need a new second party or third party in America. We're going to go to him, but here's the governor still speaking. We backed the DVR up. Here he is like 5 minutes ago. Here's the governor declaring the Texas governor announces martial law powers.
A state of emergency. And of course, we brought you live the Massachusetts governor, Governor Abbott of Texas. Let's watch.
Last week, DSHS announced that 10 public health labs in Texas are now equipped to perform COVID-19 testing throughout the state. DSHS has established a website for COVID-19 to share up-to-date information. It'd be helpful if you get that out. It is dshs.texas.gov/coronavirus/. Again, it is dshs.texas.gov/coronavirus/. Now, the state has also asked health insurers and HMOs operating in Texas to waive costs associated with the testing and telemedicine visits concerning coronavirus. We have a long list of health insurers that have agreed to comply with that request. Very importantly, for the uninsured, if an uninsured person needs testing for coronavirus, there are two options. One is public health testing or private laboratory testing. For public health testing, it requires consultation with local health departments. If the person meets public health criteria, then the person is eligible for testing through public health testing with no cost to the person. Private testing can also...
And again, I have the transcript of what he said. He declared state of disaster over coronavirus, says drive-through testing to start in San Antonio. I believe this virus is already all over the place. I think it's going to create a giant panic. Again, let's go ahead and go to Dr. Francis Boyle here, taking time off there in his office to speak to us today. I could ask a lot of questions, but what's front and center for you as one of the leading experts on this, who has predicted exactly what's now unfolded?
Well, Alex, let me say that I fully applaud President Trump for cutting off travel from Europe. I think he should have done it sooner, but at least he did. And I support him. Those European leaders are absolute idiots. They have this ideological commitment to the EU and their little bitty Schengen agreement. So they kept open borders out over there and allowed this to travel all over Europe. Indeed, now Tedros of the WHO has said that now Europe, instead of China, is the epicenter of the coronavirus. So, of course, Trump should have shut it off. And I have no criticisms at all. And I do not believe those who criticize President Trump for this are acting in good faith. I do believe, however, that President Trump should add Britain to the list there. I know he's got good relations with Prime Minister Johnson, but I'm very sorry. We need to protect the American people. They have a very dangerous situation there in Britain. Indeed, yesterday, Prime Minister Johnson said a lot of British people are going to die. So I regret to say I think that should be cut off. And I'm not anti-European. I have citizenship in the EU member state, along with my native-born American citizenship. And I travel with both an EU and an Irish passport.
Sure, but the fact is Europe is like thousands dead in Italy alone. Why is Italy so hard hit? I don't mean to change the subject here, but why is Italy so hard hit?
I guess they did not act immediately and effectively to shut it all down as soon as possible. South Korea, which is also a democracy, seems to be doing a very good job now in getting this thing under control. They have massive testing, 10,000 a day, quarantines and everything like that. So maybe South Korea is turning a page here. I can't say, but in Italy, Germany, France, now Britain, I think it's completely...
I know you don't like to cover old ground, but to me it's seminal that 6 weeks ago you were here saying it's man-made, major universities saying it. Now, that's big news now, saying it's man-made. The fact that it's mutating, the fact that there's reinfections, that's now confirmed. The providence of this, what's behind it, to me, that's pivotal.
Well, as I said, Alex, right. And you see, the CDC, HHS, NIAID, Tony Fauci are all covering this up, that as we went through this before in great detail.
You were right when you said 3 weeks ago they're screwing up covering this up for Fauci. We're not making him clearly Trump early on had advisors covering it up. His instincts kicked in. He's not doing that now.
It appears he's not trusting the advisors he has now, but I think he's got to fire all of them, because Azar, Fauci, CDC, Redfield, they're more interested in covering their own behinds here, because they were funding this death science research there at the University of North Carolina.
And by the way, I just got to say this because I don't want to inject myself in here, but I confirmed through lawyers that just having you and others on pissed them off. So somebody inside the CDC put the word out to try to shut us down. I'm sure you've seen the news. They're everywhere. They're calling for SWAT team raids on us right now, Doctor.
That would not surprise me, Alex. As you know, I'm totally censored out of the mainstream news media, not only here, but in Europe for obvious reasons, ever since I blew the whistle on the Amerithrax coming out of a U.S. biological warfare program. So it's par for the course. Well, I think Trump just has to fire all these people.
I agree. What does the president do then? He's definitely listening. What does he do?
Well, it looks like he's going to proclaim a national emergency later today and inject billions of dollars into helping frontline people combat this.
That's good.
And I applaud that. With all due respect to the markets, we have to take care of the people first and foremost, the American people. And the markets, I think, will take care of themselves. So, I know the president's a businessman, but right now the priority has to be the American people, get everyone tested and free of charge and mass testing. And then if necessary, telling them to, quarantine at home, shutting down all schools, churches, public events, and try to shut this down as best as can be done. I also think, given the deliberate stalling and delaying and covering up from these so-called advisors in Washington, D.C. State and local governments, I've said this before in our last interview, they're just going to have to charge out there on their own, just like...
Well, you said that just last Wednesday, and that's now happening. Stay there. Dr. Francis Boyle is really knocking it out of the park. Stay with us. We'll cover all this straight ahead. Then another hour of your calls straight ahead. We're in the middle of history right now. Dr. Francis Boyle is going to leave us in about 10 minutes, and then I'll go back to loaded phone lines. But guess what? They're now finding in Newsweek and the Associated Press, the coronavirus is eating men's testicles. Oh, what a surprise. It destroys fertility. So, Dr. Boyle, I've got a lot of questions for you. We could talk for 10 days. Hopefully you'll join me on the Sunday show or the Monday show, whatever you can do for a full hour. Or maybe you can host, if you'd like, Sunday for an hour. That's even better without me interrupting. But the way it's a chimera, the way it keeps mutating, I've got articles right here where they're saying, oh, no, people that are, here it is, they survived the coronavirus, then they tested positive again. You and Mike Adams and the reports 6 weeks ago were saying this. It has an HIV delivery system, and then it just keeps coming back like HIV. It's not like you beat it and then it goes away. There's so many points to cover, so many angles to go with. But the fact that it's man-made, who would do this? Where did it come from? And then now they're trying to blame Trump and bring down the economy with it. To me, I think it just looks like the big assault to take down America. I'm going to stop talking for 10 minutes. You've got the floor. You just cover whatever you think is most important, Dr. Boyle.
Well, again, Alex, as we went through before and in detail, the HIV is in there. And I already mentioned to you this scientific study where one of the Wuhan BSL-4 people worked with the Australian government to mate HIV with coronavirus. And then I also think they took the UNC gain-of-function coronavirus and back there in Wuhan, put them both together to create this turbocharged biological weapon that then leaked, I believe, accidentally. Right now, I haven't seen.
I was about to say, if it's man-made, you can prove where it came from. Why the hell would you release it?
I think it was an accident. And the problem is, Alex, that all of these BSL-3 and BSL-4s leak. We know.
No, you've proven that. It's on record. Why doesn't Trump just come out and address the nation and admit it? The stock market will go down 10,000 points. Like you said, that doesn't matter. Truth matters. He will politically win by that, and we'll mobilize like when Germany was bombing Britain. Britain was against World War II until the Nazis attacked. If Trump, like Churchill, just says, we're in trouble, it's horrible, let's fight. That's what we need, not a bunch of cowering. What do you say?
I agree with that. I'm happy to speak with President Trump about this if he wants to talk with me. And the amount and extent of this Nazi biological warfare work that has gone on here for quite some time, and that was funded by the National Institutes of Health, the Center for Disease Control.
And you're right. You said this a month ago, and I'm like, he needs to burn them all because they're going to set him up.
Well, I don't know if they're setting him up, but they're certainly covering their own rear ends here. They're all up
Sure, but then the globalists in the process blame Trump. So I'm just saying it's the right thing to do. Plus, they're going to blame him for it. Burn him.
It's clear he's being blamed for something that was in operation here long before President Trump. Indeed, it was the Obama administration that put a pause on this dual-use DNA genetic research and then lifted the pause. That's right there in that University of North Carolina article I mentioned to you. If you look at the footnotes and the small print, it's all there. So this preceded President Trump. But as I said before, you know, as President Truman said, the buck stops here. So he's
no, you're right. You were saying 3 weeks ago, if he doesn't take action now, but he is starting to take action.
He is. But again, he's got advisors around him that are trying to restrain him from taking, I think, what is even more effective action that's going to have to be taken at this time. Yeah.
Well, listen, I could ask questions 1,000 times. We really appreciate you, and I know you're a busy man, but I hope you can come on Sunday, maybe in host an hours. There it is, lab-made coronavirus triggers debate. That was 5 years ago. Scientists said in major publications, these scientists, why is this going on? And then now it's here, and we know it does kill a large number of people. What's scary is the HIV aspect where it reinfects. As a top bioweapons lawyer that wrote the U.S. law on it and then the UN adopted, just in a minute or two, Dr. Boyle, can you explain a regular flu virus or something else, you get sick, you defeat it, whatever. They're in the news, the AP, LA Times saying, okay, it is coming back. What type of virus comes back? Is that not a autoimmune chimera like HIV, or what's happening?
Yes, it's total disinformation to say, well, the flu, it kills more people than this. The people who are saying that are just trying to deceive you. This is clearly a turbocharged offensive biological warfare weapon that has never been released before.
And if you're going to release it, you do it on your own people to be the victims. You don't get the blame.
Well, as I said, I think, well, this was being stockpiled on both sides by both China.
Exactly. So it's hard to know who did it.
Well, I think that UNC article makes it quite clear that this goes back to the University of North Carolina. And you'll note there was a pause on it, and then the Obama administration lifted the pause.
Jesus.
So it's all in that article that we discussed, Alex.
No, and I know, Professor, you teach classes, so you're like phase 1, phase 2. Well, you did miss the previous class, but we have the audience is way bigger than a month ago. So I get it, Professor. You teach in phases, and then that makes sense. People should go back and watch the previous interviews, or we should categorize them as that. But this is just
well, maybe, Alex, what you should do is put together the interviews we gave. I think starting, was it Mr. Sherrod? You were out of town at that time, so I gave him.
No, you're right. We should take the interviews from like 6 weeks ago and just say, Professor Boyle's class on coronavirus, and just have it all right there.
I would not say class, but, I don't wish to sound professorial.
Whatever. Well, whatever you call it. Professor Boyle's analysis.
But I think, analysis. But I think it would be helpful if you went back to the first half-hour interview I gave. I think it was Mr. Sherwood or Sherrod.
Yeah, it's Schroyer.
Right, and then I gave you, that was on a Wednesday, then I gave you an interview on Friday.
No, but you have to understand, I've been interviewing you for almost 20 years. You're a great guy. I respect you. You're really smart. Everybody knows you're prestigious. I hate myself doing this. I hate you being so accurate. Like, I wanted you to be wrong. I was telling crew like 6 weeks ago, I think Boyle's, I'll be honest, I think Boyle's just worst case scenario. That's what lawyers do. And now I'm just like, no, Boyle's dead on. I feel sick right now. This is we're living in 2020 under a bioweapon attack, and we don't know who the hell launched it.
Well, Alex, that's why I've tried to appear on your show. I think it's important to understand. It's like the Pogo cartoon. We met the enemy, and he is us, and that's what's going on here. It came out of that UNC lab with the approval of all the people.
Exactly. They think they're going to cook this stuff up in labs. It gets out. Everyone's to blame. Why did you do it? Why did you build it? It goes back to the atomic bomb. But now...
Well, I publicly condemned this UNC research as far back as 2015, if you have a look at that. No,
I had you on at the time. That was I've got a good memory still. I remember you freaking out about level 4 labs, doing level, we're here now. So let me, in the closing minute, Professor, because you've got the crystal ball, you live this, what's coming next?
I regret to say it doesn't look good, Alex. I regret to say, because of this criminally criminal malpractice advice that all these advisors have been giving to President Trump, domestically, it looks like it might be a little too late. I think
dollar day or a day late, dollar short.
What has to be done now is, as you just saw Governor Abbott do.
Hold on. I know you got to go. Do 5 more minutes, back in 2 minutes. 5 more minutes with Dr. Boyle. All right. Thank you, sir. Man, I got 4 kids. Man, I'm so pissed right now. I can barely do this show. I know you're all man, they just canceled my kids' school. They're shutting all of Austin down. They're declaring martial law powers right now. It's all happening. This isn't a debate. It's not a joke. It's happening now. We'll be right back. All right, Dr. Boyle, where you see this going, what President Trump should do, the other topics in those last 5 minutes, we really appreciate you as the author of the U.S. biological weapons law on what's happening. You called it all the last 6 weeks. You've been dead on. I'm just scared to hear what you're going to say next.
Well, again, trying to be positive about this, I really think we're going to need governors and mayors to step up to the plate and just take their own action, because it's obvious, because of the people around President Trump giving advice, that it's not properly being done. And so I commend, I didn't hear the whole press conference there of Governor Abbott, but that's what we're going to need all over the country, that governors just...
He just declared an emergency.
Right. That's what we're going to need. Sure. And then act accordingly. And also, provide as much free testing for everyone. I don't think it should be limited by insurance plans or anything else. They're doing this now in South Korea. You can just drive through a parking lot and get a test. Everyone should have a test to find out exactly what's going on here. And then if it's positive, immediate quarantine for at least 2 days. Right. I think Governor Cuomo did the right thing there in calling out the National Guard to surround New Rochelle. I'm afraid we're going to be seeing more of this happening. Yes.
What do you make of Democrats? I don't know if you've seen the clips with your academic life, but CNN, MSN are like, oh, bring down the economy. It's all Trump's fault. Rooting for the virus. It's like they're cartoon characters. To me, I see that and I go, these are bad people. Like rooting for bad stuff to happen. It's crazy.
Well, again, I'm a political independent. I'm not really here to criticize the Democrats or the Republicans. Or
no, I understand, but they're like frothing, hoping for the Democrats are trying to make political hay out of this.
You are correct. From everything I've seen, you are correct about that. In watching the mainstream news media, I don't think that is the appropriate way to proceed here. We need leadership and both sides to put aside.
Exactly. Why don't they get, it could be their kids that die. Don't they get that? They need to be like really trying to find the truth.
You're exactly right. But the same with Republicans too. For example, I read in the New York Times today, this new package the Republicans are saying, well, there has to be an anti-abortion provision in the bill. Well, that's already prohibited by the Hyde Amendment. Come on, let's just focus on this particular problem.
No, I agree. Don't make it political, because they've definitely been doing that.
No, and we can't resolve all the problems in the world here. Racism in America, poverty in America, et cetera. We need to focus on the coronavirus and trying to stop it and contain it and get proper medical treatment for all American people, poor or rich, because whatever the financial aristocracy believe, they're in the same boat with the rest of us.
They've all run to bunkers. Did you see? Literally, most of the billionaires have run to bunkers.
It's not going to help them unless it's completely sealed off, like a BSL-4 lab. That might help. I don't know how long they're going to be able to survive in their bunkers, because if they're breathing the regular air like the rest of us, they're going to get it.
Well, Dr. Boyle, thank you so much for the time. I know you're going to learn more tomorrow. If you can join us on the Sunday show, that'd be great. Thank you so much, my friend.
Well, thanks, Allison. I do want to thank your viewing audience because I've received many
yeah, how do
emails.
people contact you? How do other shows that want to talk to you, how do they interface with Dr. Boyle?
Well, I'm sort of interviewing you because I'm pretty much interviewed out, Alex. I've given so many interviews, and the mainstream news media won't talk to me. So fine. So I'm basically re-interviewing people who've interviewed me already.
I understand. We appreciate you. I get as a professor, you're like, I already said it, but you got to say it over and over again. Ladies and gentlemen, InfoWars sponsor and InfoWarsStore.com has high-quality storable food at the lowest price you're going to find, and they've not raised prices yet. But they're up to 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks for delivery, depending on the item. They're under-promising, over-delivering. But everybody else has been sold out for a month. We told you about the FEMA emergency first. We told you about the cover-up first. Whether this virus is super deadly or not, they're using the crisis that has come with it to take over and have power and control. Trump is not trying to do that. But there's no doubt that everyone I talk to, including myself, I'm not trying to cough here on air to illustrate this. I can't stop. I talked to Tyler Nixon during the break, Roger Stone's lawyer. He hadn't been sick in years. He has pneumonia. He's super sick right now. Flew back from D.C. Everybody I know that's flown is super sick. That's what Steve Pachinik said a month ago. He said it's already all over the U.S. That's confirmed now. It's race-specific, though. It mainly kills Asians. Well, that's still a problem. It's still sad. We care about them. But it's the globalists launching this. It's man-made right now. That's why you've got to be concerned. So check that checklist off to get high-quality storable food. The only place you're going to get it at 5 times less than store cost, because they mark it up, is InfoWarsStore.com. And I lied to you and said, oh, it's 7 days delivery. We'd have 5 times the orders, but I won't do it. The truth is, it's about 4-week delivery, they told me. They said, don't say that on air because people get mad, but most of our stuff's 4 weeks, but some of it's 6, 7 weeks with specialty items, so don't tell them that. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you. But on the corporate contract, 6 to 8 weeks, InfoWarsStore.com. We've got all the other great items, DNA Force Plus, X2. Boosting your immune system is just as important as having storable foods. For economic collapse, for war, for whatever. It lasts 25 years. With inflation, you buy it, it locks in the cost, save money that way. It's a great investment, and it funds the InfoWar. Take action, InfoWarsStore.com or 888-253-3139. Real stuff, man. We're talking about the real deal here. And I love Trump all day long, but, man, I tell you, he sits there and lets these big tech people keep running roughshod over him. Everybody, I mean, I've got a problem. And we'll just take the Trump rallies over. That said, about 2 months ago, I came up with a plan that I haven't launched yet. We have a warehouse full of hundreds of thousands of stickers, 20 different stickers. Impeach the Democrats, save the Second Amendment, defend the First Amendment, Infowars.com. And it looks like duct tape, but it's just a regular sticker. You put it over your mouth, you go to a Trump rally, and you instantly take over without even disrupting things. People say, why are you doing this? What's happening? Well, you go, well, we're being censored, and Trump won't do anything about it. And Dr. Pachinik, let me just ask you what you think, because I've not launched this yet.
It's brilliant. You've taken the very element that they try to repress you with, that silence, and made it into a weapon. You have the loudest sound of all, silence. And you know what's most disturbing to people? Silence.